We are going to begin the next steps of our corn husk drawing and painting. Through this couple steps, we're going to be using pencil, pen, and watercolor. We're going to start with our pencil. We have done all the shading here on the corn husk. My paper got a little bit wet, but that's okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the kernels, the little pieces of corn on the corn cobs. So what I want you to do is with a pencil, super lightly, because we're going to erase this later, not right in the middle, but a little bit off to the side, I want you to draw a line straight down from top to bottom. And then about a pencil width away, I want you to draw another one that goes from top to bottom. And they can get just a little bit closer there at the bottom. And another one. And I probably don't need to put another one in here because this row is about the same width as those. If you wanted to, you could add another one. But I'm going to go over here. Add that. I'm going to make it get a little bit skinnier there at the bottom. And again, I probably don't need to add another one here, but if you need to, go ahead and do that. Okay, now we're going to add the corn kernels. So we are going to do this with pen. I don't think it makes good sense to do it with pencil and then pen again, because that would just take you forever. So what I want you to do is, we're just going to start right here in the middle. And you're going to draw kind of like a circle mixed with a square. A square with really round edges. And they're just going to barely fit. Going to smush them to fit right next to each other and right into that line right there. So we don't really want much space in between. We don't really want a lot of space in the corners. We want to try to make that fill up that space. So rounded rectangles or really square like circles. The closer that they get to the bottom here, you can make them a little bit smaller. So then you're going to go through each row and you are going to draw these shapes, making sure that they go all the way from one line to the next. We don't want to have a lot of empty space floating in between the corn kernels, because in real corn kernels, they're just smashed right up against each other. There's no space in between. Again, they get a little bit smaller. Now, I'm going to start talking as I am finishing this corn kernel. You're going to do all three. In this video, I'm just going to show you the first one. But when you're done drawing the corn kernels on all of your corn cobs, then it is going to be time to watercolor paint. So you need to start thinking about what colors you want to use for your Indian corn. Indian corn comes in a lot of different colors. So you can look back at the examples on the slideshow so that you can get an idea of kind of the colors that are traditional. Or you can make up your own colors. You can kind of pick like fall colors, like reds, oranges, yellows, and browns. Those are always nice. You can kind of do more blues. There's a lot of Indian corn that comes in kind of blues and reds and that kind of thing. But I'm going to show you here in just a second how I want you to paint that. Okay. Alright, so I got my corn kernels drawn. I'm going to take just a second to erase. Oops. Wait a little bit for your pen to dry. Not like I did. Okay. When you are all the way done, then you're going to start watercolor painting. Okay, so we've got our watercolors here. We've got water. And what I want you to do is pick some that are going to be a little bit darker. Whatever colors you choose. I'm going to do red, orange, yellow, and brown. Okay, but whatever you choose to do, I want you to pick some that are going to be a little bit darker and do those first. To make your paint darker, you're just going to get a little bit of water and then stir it in a lot. The more paint you have, the darker it's going to be. So I'm going to go through. I'm just going to pick a couple of my corn kernels to make nice and dark. As you're painting, you want to just kind of jump around. If you paint two right next to each other, they're going to kind of blend together and they're not going to stay inside the lines, and the colors are going to end up blending together. So we want to jump around to allow our paint a little bit of time to dry. Okay, so I've got a couple dark ones, and then maybe I want to go through and make some lighter brown. So if I want my brown to be lighter, all I need to do is just dip it in the water, and now if I go, then my brown is much lighter. So I'm going to jump around here. I don't want anyone just to paint the whole thing all at one time. That's not what we're going for. Indian corn has lots of different colors all going on at the same time. So that's how we need to paint it. Okay, now I'm going to switch to red. So I'm going to wash out my brush. And I'm going to do the same thing. First I'm going to wipe off a lot of my water. You should have a paper towel that you can wipe that off on. We still need it a little bit wet, just not very wet. If your paintbrush is already having a crazy hair day, that means you need more paint on it. So if you find that your paintbrush is crazy looking, add a little bit more water. So now I'm going to put in some darker reds randomly around here. And then add a little bit of water. And do lighter reds. And then I would do the same with orange and with yellow. I'm going to jump to what I want you to do at the end. You don't need to sit and watch me paint this for forever. Next we need to do the corn husks. The corn husks are kind of like a yellowy brownish color. So what I want you to do, you see I already kind of did it up here, is get your brush wet, stir it in your yellow, and bring some yellow up here on the top of your paint palette. And then you're going to wash out your brush and get a little bit of brown and stir that in. Okay, so that makes kind of like a tannish color. You can make it nice and dark where we added that shadow, that shading, and then you can make it lighter toward the top. So maybe I'll go through and do some of the darker parts right now. Then if I add more water to my brush, then I can come and make this part lighter. Okay, so I took some yellow and some brown, mixed them together up here, and then I made it darker where the shadow parts are, and I made it lighter on the other parts. The last thing, when this is all done, when you have all the corn kernels painted, all the husks painted, is to pick a color for your background. Try and pick a color that you didn't use in any of your Indian corn so that it really stands out. So I could do blue, and I just want you to go through and just have it be nice and light. You don't need to have it be really dark like that. Just a nice light background around everything. Okay? So again, the steps that I did in this video were I drew my row lines with pencil, and then I drew in the corn kernels, a really thick square, rounded square shape to fill in that area so they're really smashed together. And then I painted the corn kernels, making some dark and some light. Then I painted the corn husks, and then I did the background. So can't wait to see what you make.